So let's pick up where we left off. So last time what we did here is we called the menu function within a while loop. And as long as we didn't pick 10, then the menu displayed as many times as we've entered a value that is not 10. So a quick recap for that. So let me just run it here. So if we enter 0, the menu will reappear. If we enter 1, the menu will reappear. If you enter minus 900, the menu will reappear. However, if you type specifically 10, then the menu will not reappear and we will exit the program. Okay, so now we want to specifically assign 1 and 2 to specific operations. One will do an addition and one will create a scenario for subtraction. So these scenarios can be programmed right here. The moment we have an option, then that option is basically the same value as choice, which could be either 1, 2, 10, or any other number. But let's assume it's going to be 1 or 2. So at this stage right here, instead of just displaying what we picked, we can now assess that value in an if statement. So we could do something like this: if option equals equals. So now remember, equals equals is an operator to compare, okay? And specifically 1. Then we could right now just print you picked addition operation. Okay, so very specific here as to what we picked. Well, let's suppose we didn't pick 1. What's our next option? Well, it could be 2. Well, in that case, we could do something like either a nested if statement, like we've seen in a previous lesson, or we can simply have another if statement without an else right here for now. So if that's the case, then we can print that you picked subtraction operation. Now, mind you, I'm not doing the operations. I'm just showing specifically what would happen, what would be the message displayed if we did pick any of these. Now, what if we pick 10? Well, if option equals 10, then we can print goodbye. Okay, well, let's run this program. Notice here, I'm going to pick 1, and notice here you picked addition operation, and the menu reappears. It's asking me to enter again. So let's say I print 1 again. The program doesn't care. It will run exactly what you asked it to do, which means you picked the addition operation. So you can pick the addition as many times as you want while the program is running. You are still running a loop. Let's do 2, for example. Well, you've picked subtraction. Now let's do 10, and notice here it's going to say goodbye, no more menu, the program is ended. Okay, so we've got a little better control over the flow of the program. Now let's run it again and pick a number other than 1, 2, or 10. Right, so I'm going to pick 99. Notice I'm going to remain there with the menu, but I am not getting anything specific that says, maybe 99 is not really a good option. So maybe we can modify our program a little bit, where if we don't pick 1, 2, and 10, we literally get an error message that says invalid choice. Okay? So how can we do this? Well, we're going to have to modify our if statement. Instead of being a series of if statements, this is a good reason to use nested if statements, which means an if, and then an else, an if within that else, etc. So we can filter down to where we have values that are not valid. All right, so how do we start with something like this? We could, so let me clean it up. First, let me exit. And we could do something like this. We could start with an if statement that evaluates anything wrong. Especially if we're going to have operations that are between 1 and 9, then those would be valid. But anything below 1 and anything above 10 will be invalid. We could do something like that. We could do if option is less than 1, or option, one of them has to be true, is greater than 10. Then we could display an error. Print invalid choice. Now, mind you, here I'm creating the limits as to what is acceptable or not. 10 is inclusive. Let's run this quickly, and let's enter a 0. Invalid choice. Let's enter 11. Invalid choice. Let's enter a -1. That would be an invalid choice. Let's enter 11. Invalid choice. Let's enter 10. That's not an invalid choice, but we're out. Now, let's go ahead and do an else here and take care of the valid choices. So, if option equals 1, then we have what we call an operation. So print, and this would be addition operation. We're going to just call it addition op. Else, we're going to do if. So we're trying to limit within that group which one will still be valid. Option equals 2. Then we're going to print. This was what you picked, was a subtraction operation. Okay. What else? Well, else, if you picked option equals 10, then we're going to print goodbye, since you intended to leave. And then we're going to put an else here, which means it was none of these. It wasn't 1, it wasn't 2, it wasn't 10, but it was within the range of 1 to 9. Then we could do something like this, else, print. We could say something like option under construction, or not yet designed. So it's a placeholder that says operation 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 are not already designed. We haven't done multiplication, division, or whatever other operations we want to do with the calculation. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this. And let's pick 10. So we know what this is going to kick us out. And notice here, no problem, it goes and says goodbye. All right, let's go ahead and run it again. And we're going to pick addition. Notice it says addition OP, menu reappears. It's asking you to do it again. Let's enter 2. No problem, subtraction OP. And now let's enter 4. Now we know we haven't designed anything with 4. So what's going to happen? It says option not yet designed, because it's going to be within the valid range of certain values that we want. Okay, so I'm going to stop here, because next we're going to actually do the addition and subtraction and keep the structure here. So instead of printing what operation this is, we're going to call specific functions or specific different kind of jobs to do these operations. So why? Because we don't want to crowd this code here with the actual operations. So that's going to be our next lesson. I will see you then.